Good morning and welcome to Convince Me, presented by BetMGM. The betting lines are open. The boards are lighting up. Lineups are being locked. Bets are being placed. It is the most exciting, most intense, best 90 minutes, 2 hours before kickoff that you're going to get. We are the Action Network crew. We're bringing you everything, all the data, all the picks, all the research, all the analysis. It's available for free in the award-winning Action Network app. I got Darren Rovell on the news desk. I got Samantha Previte on the fantasy desk. And joining me are expert NFL analysts Chris Raybon, Sean Koerner, Simon Hunter. We are running through props. We are running through sides. We are running through totals. We're going to do it all. Koerner, let's kick it off, pun intended, with you. Give me your favorite player prop.
So I have been all about this prop all week long, and it's Tyler Higbee over 42.5 receiving yards. Now, last season, Tyler Higbee turned out to be Tyler Hig bust in fantasy football, mainly due to splitting time with Gerald Everett at tight end and Jared Goff just being flat out bad. However, with Gerald Everett off to Seattle and Matthew Stafford running this offense, it looks like we're going to see Tyler Higbee in 2021. He's a player I'm buying low on. Even after a pretty good week, he went 5 for 68 yards in week 1. I'm still buying low on him. He played every single snap. So Gerald Everett is no longer a threat to his playing time. He ran a route on over 90% of Matthew Stafford dropbacks. He saw a 24% target rate. And, you know, Matthew Stafford's going to elevate this offense to what we saw back in 2018, 2019. So I'm all about Tyler Higbee here. I'm projecting this closer to 50. So I'd actually bet this all the way up to about 46.5, 47.5.
All right. Is that why you're wearing a Rams hat today?
Yes. This is my Tyler Higbee represent hat for today.
I like how you have hats that represent your favorite player props. That's how committed you are to sharing good news. Professional bettor, Simon Hunter. I know you don't love player props, but if you were to give me a player prop, what would you give me?
I love him, Chad. I'm just not good at him. That's the difference. I'm going easy here. Amari Cooper. I want something I might be able to win in the first half. I could see him getting targeted 6-7 times in the first half in this Chargers game. We've seen it where he's a safety blanket for Dak. So I know the hype around CeeDee Lamb's for real, but I think there's enough targets to go around for both these guys in this game. So over 5.5. I know it's a little juiced up at this point, but I still think the value is there. Where he had 13 catches last week. So again, Amari Cooper, I feel like he's one of the few guys that you can really count on.
All right, listen, if you want to win $100, reply to @Action Network HQ with the total number of receptions you think Amari Cooper is going to have. We may pick your name randomly, and you could win that $100. Reply to @Action Network HQ, total number of receptions for Amari Cooper. Raybon, I'm looking at our outline / script right now, and I cannot believe what you were about to tell people.
We're going right back to the well, even though we didn't hit last week, Chad, with Ryan Tannehill over 1.5 touchdown passes. Listen, last week it was a bad beat. Even as poorly as the Titans played, Ryan Tannehill was stuck on 1 touchdown. He threw a second one to Jeff Swaim. They called it a touchdown, and then all of a sudden Jeff Swaim drops it. Then Ryan Tannehill runs it in. So Ryan Tannehill still got his 2 touchdowns. They just didn't happen to be passing. But even with that not hitting last week, Ryan Tannehill has still gone over 1.5 touchdowns in 20 of his 27 starts as a Titan. That's still 74%. I love this prop every week. And look at the Seahawks. As well as they played last week against an unprepared Colts team, Carson Wentz, as bad as he's been over the last 2-3 years, still threw 2 touchdowns against Seattle. The total for Titans Seahawks is up over 54. It's even higher than it was for Titans Cardinals last week. So we're expecting an even higher scoring game. I expect the Titans to rebound this week. We know that underdogs coming off a loss, usually around 60% the next week in week 2. So I expect a rebounding performance. And again, Tannehill's been over this 74% of his time as a Titan. And you just know they're going to get more play action this week. Really poor debut, I think, for the new offensive coordinator last week in Tennessee.
That Titans Cardinals game was full of bad beats. We had your Tannehill bad beat, one of the few losses we had at Convince Me, by the way. I think
Thanks, Chad.
I think we had 9 bets last week. We went 7-2, 6-0 on our sides and totals. One of the 2 losses, Tannehill and the 2 touchdowns.
Yep.
That was a bad beat. That game was stuck on 51 for about 18 minutes, and the total was 51.5. So for those of us who bet the over 51.5, like say me, that was a bad beat. I think it's disgusting. You're asking me to go back to Ryan Tannehill. Again, Koerner, what do you think of what Raybon is trying to tell me to do?
Yeah, if you want to go with the martingale approach and double down on a week 1 losing bet, go for it. Or you can just get the free money on Tyler Higbee over today. Up to you.
By the way, that is the meanest thing Koerner has ever said on this show, and it figures that he'd have to use the martingale approach as a zinger. I am going with Tyler Higbee over 42.5 yards. I went with Koerner last week and Jalen Waddle over 37.5 yards. He did that in one play. So for me, I'm going back to the well. I'm fading whatever Raybon is telling me about Ryan Tannehill. Tyler Higbee, don't forget, if you want to win $100, reply to at Action Network HQ. Tell us how many receiving yards Amari Cooper will have today, or how many receptions, Amari Cooper will have today against the Los Angeles Chargers. You can win $100. My first pick, Tyler Higbee, over 42.5 receiving yards. Darren Rovell, you're on the Action Network news desk.
Well, I like the hat approach from Koerner, so I decided to put on a Lando Lakes hat. It's the old logo, in a Vikings tribute, because when we're looking at the highest percentage of tickets, it's like no one's giving the Vikings a chance here. Cardinals at BetMGM, Cardinals 73% of the tickets, Chiefs 71% of the tickets, Saints 70% of the tickets. But the Cardinals, if you look everywhere, even at WinBet, 97% of the money is on the Cardinals, 87% of the money at FanDuel, 83% of the money at PointsBet. So no one giving a chance at 3.5 to the Cardinals. By the way, Kyler against the spread, he's 4-7 against the spread as a favorite. So do what you want, but the public acting like it's free money.
Yeah, I know we're going to get to that game. I know one of these guys has a very strong opinion about the Cardinals and the Vikings game. Let's get to the best bets against the spread. Sean Koerner, you're up first. What do you got?
Yeah, so Chad, I know you like discussing bets. I think we have 3 of them for you coming right up, but I'm going to kick it off with the Panthers +3 or +3.5 -120. I like them both. But I think the Saints last week, this line seems like an overreaction to the Saints just stomping over the Packers last week, 38-3. Jameis Winston looked great. There's no denying it. He should be great in Sean Payton's scheme. So, I think he'll have a good season. However, the Saints suffered a ton of key injuries this week. They lost center Eric McCoy. He's already been ruled out. So, this interior O-line is going to struggle against this pretty solid Panthers D-line. So I think they're going to be able to generate pressure on Winston compared to last week. So, on the defensive side of the ball, you have a ton of injuries. Marcus Davenport is ruled out. Quan Alexander is on IR. Marshawn Lattimore, I guess it's still up in the air. He could play, but he'll be less than 100%, which is scary because this secondary is already pretty thin. They just traded for Bradley Roby last week. He could be the starting quarterback this week. So, on the Panther side of the ball, Sam Darnold is still below average at quarterback. However, this scheme and the playmakers around him, I think, can make him look decent this week. We saw last week, OC Joe Brady schemed up some really easy passes for Sam Darnold. He had a 69% expected completion rate. Only 6 of his attempted passes were into a tight window. Yes, it was against the Jets, but still, I think it goes to show that this scheme is going to make him look a lot better than he was on the Jets. So I think they're going to be able to cover here. Like I said, I like +3, but, buy up the half point to get the +3.5 at -120. Either way, I love the Panthers here.
You're right. It's totally, totally disgusting. And I loved it at +4. I still love it at +3.5. I bet it at +4. I probably won't take a taste of it at +3.5, but it doesn't mean I like the bet any less. I just got it at the better number. Simon, I know you and I had a lot of conversations about this game on our podcast, The Favorites, this week. I know you have a strong opinion about this game. Give me your thought on that game. Give me your thought on the next game that you want us to take.
Yeah, you nailed on the head there. It's a typical situation where you have a team that blew a team out, now is going on the road, feeling really good. And the stats against Winston as a favorite are really damning. I think he's 7-14 as a favorite against the spread. He looks like he's fixed a lot of these problems, but I just think it was more about Green Bay laying a giant egg. And I really liked what I saw from this Panthers defense. I think they have a couple guys, especially on that D line, that can really step up in this matchup. So 3.5 in a divisional game for a home team. Of course, every time you're going to take the Panthers here, and it's going to work out for you long term.
All right. Well, then give me your best bet. We know you like the Panthers, but who's your best bet today? And this, by the way, having a little bit of a preview, it truly is disgusting. And I love it.
That's what I'm going to be doing on this show. So last week we gave you the lines 8.5, covered by half a point. Maybe we got lucky, Chad, but you know what? Winners win and winners cover. So
the right side is the winning side. That's it, Simon.
Amen. This is ugly. I really looked at this for a long time. This is going to be my biggest bet of the day by far. So the Ravens now are still sitting at 3.5, despite all the money in the world coming in on the Chiefs, all the teasers in the world tied to the Chiefs, all the money line parlays tied to the Chiefs. This is such a typical 9 out of 10 times you bet this. You bet this home dog here, and you're going to cover 9 out of 10 times. And this is one of these games where this is how I make my big money. I put big money on these games, and no one wants to bet. And sports books are so happy when they see me walk in and put this money down because they go, all right, thank God we have another sucker with us here that's going to lose money in case the Chiefs win big. So it's one of these things, people, you want to stay away from these primetime games where a road team is getting all the money. It's just not that easy. The books, they know what they're doing. They know they lay these traps. This game's going to land at 2. It's going to land on 3. It's not landing on 4. So 3.5 with the Ravens, a run team that's dominant against the Chiefs, terrible run defense. It's all just pointing to those signs where everyone's thinking too much about the Ravens' injuries instead of thinking about what the Ravens can do on offense. So I love this number, Chad. Give me the home team Sunday night primetime.
Listen, I've loved this number all week. I've been talking about it all week. I feel like when we discussed it on the favorites earlier in the week, we might not have been totally aligned, but I was all over it from the beginning. I like the Ravens on the money line.
That's where we differ.
What's that?
That's where we differ. The money line, it scares me because Mahomes in his career hasn't lost September, Chad. So it's one of those, I get he's due for it, but I just don't have the gahones to take the money line for the Ravens.
Very well done with the wordplay. The impossible is only impossible until it hasn't been done. That's all I'm going to say about that. Raybon, what do you got?
I mean, Simon just kind of laid out a great point about, going against the public in some of these spots, especially in week 2. And, as Darren mentioned earlier, nobody believes in the Vikings after 1 week. Everyone believes in the Cardinals after 1 week. When in reality, these are 2 mediocre teams, maybe slightly above average teams. The Cardinals, remember, were picked to finish last in the division and still very well might. So I am buying the dip here with the Vikings at plus 3.5. Nobody wants to take them. But remember, it's still a well-coached team. Mike Zimmer, in his career, coming off a loss, 30-15 against the spread. He's covering off a loss 67% of the time. And as I mentioned, the Cardinals weren't really that good last week. It's just more of a situation where the Titans weren't prepared. They were dealing with COVID issues. Julio and Tanney hadn't practiced as much. Arizona was just 19th in offensive success rate last week and 25th in passing success rate. They made a bunch of big plays, but they weren't consistent down to down. And you usually see that regress to the mean quickly. And I'm expecting it to happen this week. And remember, overreaction week 2 underdogs plus 6 or less coming off a loss, 54, 33, and 2, 64% against the spread over the last 15 years. So I love the Vikings, and I will take that when nobody else will. I expect them to win this game.
I'm actually, I'm tempted to go with Raybon only because it's the only game on the board that I haven't bet. And so I might as well just choose that as my winner. 2 quick games I want to talk about. Evan Abrams, I'm going off script a little bit. I apologize, but I do want to get people's opinions because 2 games that have been moving relatively aggressively over the week and then especially today. The Bears hosting the Bengals. They opened at, I think, -3. It got bet down to 2.5. It got bet down to 2. It got bet down to 1.5. Simon, I know you think the Bears, like I, looked much better than they're being given credit for against the Rams. Give me your take on that game right now.
Exactly what you just said. I thought the Bears actually moved it really well against that Rams defense. They just couldn't finish and capitalize in the red zone. And we're talking about Joe Burrow, who got sacked 5 times last week against the Vikings defense. Okay. Now he's going against a Bears defense that we know they're better than what they showed against the Rams. The Rams had a couple of big plays that really kind of flipped that game. So I feel like the public's coming in way too heavy on this Bengals teams that they just caught the Vikings at a bad time. And it feels like they're a little lucky to even escape with the win last week, where we saw once the Vikings turned it on, they really couldn't be stopped. So again, this Bears team at home with that defense against this really young, inexperienced Bengals team and Zach Taylor, we're getting a good number here, Chad. It's one of these games we've talked about all week, and we've liked this number. So anything under 3 with a home team in the Bears, I like that number a lot.
All right, Koerner, the other game I want to talk about quickly. The Chargers, they opened at, I think, -2.5. It got all the way up to 3.5. Now it's down to -3. I'm starting to love a short home favorite against a banged up team in the Cowboys that continues to overperform. They won 5 in a row last season. They won a tough game on the road against the Washington football team to open the year. Short home favorite, Chargers -3. What say you?
Yeah, I love the Chargers -3 here. They were one of my 4 main plays this week. I regret, I was bullish on both the Chargers and football team heading into the season. I went with the football team week 1. I regret it. Everything I saw about the Chargers is why I loved them going into the season. So I do like them here. Although I will say they don't really have a home field advantage this week. I guarantee you there's going to be way more Cowboy fans in the stands. But either way, I think they should be about -4.5 here.
Beautiful. All right, Samantha Previte, you've been very, very. Oh wait, I didn't give my pick. I'm sorry. I want to go with the Vikings +3.5. Of course, I'm going to go with the Vikings +3.5. Like I said, it's the only game that I haven't bet, so I got to go with the Vikes +3.5. Raybon, you win that battle. Well done. Now, Samantha Previte, I apologize. You've been very patient. Give us the fantasy news we can use.
Chad, thank you so much. And it just seemed like you were so excited to hear from me. So
I was. That's it. I didn't want to make my bet. I just wanted to get to you.
All right, well, I'm going to kick it off with 6 actives and inactives. The big news of the week was Raiders running back Josh Jacobs is out, dealing with a toe and ankle injury after a huge 2-touchdown game on Monday. That means Kenyon Drake should be considered an RB2 this week against the Steelers due to volume alone. Browns receiver Odell Beckham is out once again after missing week 1. Jarvis Landry gets a bump, as does Austin Hooper against the Texans this week. Bills wideout Gabriel Davis is listed as questionable for this week's matchup with an ankle injury, but he is expected to play against the Dolphins, according to Adam Schefter. Dolphins wide receiver Will Fuller will miss what should have been his debut for the team, dealing with a personal issue. Expect the team to continue to lean on receivers Devontae Parker and Jalen Waddle against the Bills. Bills running back Zach Moss is expected to play against the Dolphins after he was a late scratch last week. For now, consider Devin Singletary as the starter and a fantasy RB3, while Moss is kind of a dart throw at this point. And finally, 49ers running back Trey Sermon is expected to play this week against the Eagles. He was also a surprising inactive last week, which opened the door for Elijah Mitchell to have a monster game. I expect this to be some kind of messy committee between Sermon, Mitchell, and even Jermichael Hasty.
All right, Samantha Previte, we will get back to you before the end of the show with some more sit start news. Let's get to the last betting segment of the day. This is our totals. This one's going to get messy. I've already seen. I know what my points of contention are here, guys. Koerner, you're up first.
So I'm going with the under 49 points in the 49er Eagles matchup. Both teams put up a ton of points last week against bad defenses. The Eagles posted 32 against the Falcons. The 49ers dropped 41 points against the Lions, but they both face much tougher defenses this week. I see this being a much lower scoring environment than some game that should be around a 50 total. Both teams should have a pretty run heavy conservative game plan this week. Jalen Hurts had a league low 3.7 ADOT last week. Most of his production came yards after the catch. So I could see the 49ers slowing down him a bit here. And the 49ers, they have a lot of uncertainty on offense. I'm sure you'll hear in Samantha's, next segment too, more situations where we don't know who's playing for the Niners. But, they lost Raheem Mostert for the season. So they're kind of having some running back issues. For some reason, Brandon Ayuk was playing behind Trent Sherfield last week. So I think it's going to take a couple of games for them to get continuity and really hit the ground running, mainly once they have Trey Lance take over for Jimmy G. So I think they're going to have a more run heavy conservative game plan this week. I love this down all the way to 47.5. I'm actually projecting this closer to 46. So this is my favorite total for the day.
Ugh, Simon, I know for a fact that when we talked on Tuesday, we loved the over 50 in the Niners-Eagles game, didn't we?
Yeah, I think it was more about how we were just scared that the 49ers injuries on defense are going to really help the Eagles offense. And the other side, we just think Shanahan can scheme it up. And we saw Jimmy G, he had a 300-yard passing game last week. I know it was against the Lions. He didn't have one all of 2020. So maybe they've kind of figured things out here on the 49er offense. It just makes me scared to take the under in this matchup because here in Philadelphia, it's a gorgeous day, Chad. It's a perfect day to take an over here.
Well, I think Kinlaw and Armstead are expected to play. I know Mosley's out, but I'm less concerned about the cornerback stopping the Eagles. I'm more worried about up front. If Kinlaw and Armstead end up missing the game, I wouldn't like this play as much, but I'm not too worried about the injuries on defense.
I hate it when my professionals don't get along. It makes me so upset. I don't know what to do. All right, Simon, what's your total?
It feels like this is a gift from the gambling gods. Over under 54 with the Seahawks Titans game. We talked about it. The Titans, Chad, they lost Corey Davis. They lost Jonnu Smith. Two of the best blocking tight ends, wide receivers in all of football have left this team. They couldn't run the ball last week. They don't have an identity right now. So I can't see the Titans scoring. The Seahawks, their new offensive style, they like to do a lot of running, the play action, slow things down. They really controlled that game against the Colts. And Seahawks, playing at home we know the weather is going to be bad there. They're supposed to have rain as soon as this game starts. With that crowd, this really does feel like a classic 21-14 kind of game where it's just going to be a slug them out, low scoring. I see the Seahawks winning, obviously, because we picked them in our picks, but 54 in this matchup, that just feels like people are betting off what happened last year with Tennessee's offense being so explosive, having that bad defense. It feels like a trap here. So again, I like the under in this position.
Trap, overreaction to the market. This number has it all. Everything we like to look for if we're going to fade what the public is doing and beg and take what the bookmakers are begging us to take. Raybon, last week, you asked us to take the lowest total on the board, and you said take the under, and it cashed. It was the Giants and the Broncos. What do you have for us this week?
I'm staying in Jersey. I'm staying in the same stadium, different team, the New York Jets, New England Patriots under 43. First of all, this Jets team just got ravaged by injury, and they only put up 14. They could have gotten to 16 had they had a 2-point conversion, but they put up 14 points. They put a 19-14 game last week. Their left tackle, Mekhi Becton, is out for 4 to 6 weeks. He went down in that game. And remember, Zach Wilson took 6 sacks last week. So this already looks like I said the Giants were the worst offensive line in football last week. It might actually be the Jets now. I may have misspoken. Now, on the other side, you have New England. You have Bill Belichick, who's all about his business, especially when they go on the road. He's going to protect his rookie quarterback. Even with Tom Brady, the market had overreacted to New England when they went on the road. Since 2016, Belichick, the under on the road is 27-13, 68%. And then when you have two teams in the division, you have low scoring games in general. It's usually a little tighter, 59% hit rate over the last 15 years. And remember, New England played a 17-16 game last week against Miami. It could have been probably 23-16, whatever. Still would have gone under this number if they hadn't fumbled. But they led for only 2 minutes and 30 seconds in that game. They threw 39 times. And they still scored only 16 points. I don't expect them to give up many points. I also don't expect this to be a shootout. Bill Belichick's not going to put his quarterback in harm's way on the road in week 2. They're going to go about their business. They're going to handle things against the Jets. The spread is too big to take New England, so the best way to invest in this game is bet against that Jets banged up offensive line and rookie quarterback. I love the under 43 in Jets Patriots.
I love it so much. It's so disgusting. One of my favorite things last Sunday was watching that Broncos Giants game and being sick to my stomach the entire time. And like knowing that there was a very good chance right up until the end, there was going to be some kind of backdoor. It's appropriate that you are asking us to make a disgusting bet in the swamp. Chris Raybon, I'm going with you again. Give me the under. Give me the under 43 for the Jets and the Pats. Samantha Previte, what's the start sit news we need to know?
Yeah, I'm going to give you guys 3 starts and 3 sits. So my first one is going to be to start Aaron Rodgers versus the Lions. So this was a no-brainer last week. 1 QB 34 finish should not be enough to scare you off Rodgers and the Packers. His week 2 matchup against the Lions is an excellent get-right game for the reigning NFL MVP. Next, you are starting Mike Williams versus the Cowboys. He finished as wide receiver 16.5 PPR last week. His role as the wide receiver 2 in this high volume offense, coupled with the Cowboys' highly exploitable pass defense, makes him a great start this week. And finally, you are starting Melvin Gordon in Jacksonville. He finished as RB 6.5 PPR last week, though he was slightly outtouched by rookie Javonte Williams. This Broncos team always intended it to be a 60-40 split, though, with Gordon getting the edge. I think he will do well against the Jaguars run defense. Next, you are sitting Corey Davis versus the Patriots. As Chris Raybon just alluded to, Bill Belichick has many superpowers. One of his is the ability to shut down rookie quarterbacks, which just does not bode well for Zach Wilson or Corey Davis or this offensive line, which is very Swiss cheesy. So I expect Davis to come back down to earth this week against the Patriots. You are also sitting Brandon Ayuk versus the Eagles. So just like, please raise your hand if you have been personally victimized by Kyle Shanahan. Ayuk bageled last week after seeing 0 targets and 1 special teams play in week 1. He has been dealing with a hamstring injury, and he's just not someone I'm excited to start until he proves he's healthy and back in Kyle Shanahan's good graces. And finally, you are sitting Mike Davis in Tampa Bay. I think better days are ahead for Davis, who finished his RB 32.5 PPR last week, but those days are unlikely to come on the road against a stingy Buccaneers run defense, which just held Ezekiel Elliott to 33 rushing yards last week.
Look, Kyle Shanahan this week at his press conference basically said to Ayuk, he will not get on the field until he outperforms players in practice. I think that tells you everything you need to know about where Brandon Ayuk fits in Kyle Shanahan's game plan. Excellent update, Samantha. Darren Rovell, what are the markets telling us as we head towards kickoff?
All right, so we got a little bit of movement. As you said, you can get the Bears at 1.5 at DraftKings and FanDuel. At a couple books, Rams Colts have gone to -4 to the Rams side. Steelers have come down a bit, at least at DraftKings, -5.5 you can get. And at a couple books, Houston is now up to +13.5. So that's some of the lines that have moved a little bit. I want to talk about Houston. The Broncos. Got confused because I have a Brock Osweiler note. The Broncos, they are second in handle percentage at BetMGM. The last time a 6-point road favorite, Denver was a 6-point road favorite, was Brock Osweiler in 2015. And then we have the biggest bet, not too big yet. I think we're waiting, but Bills -3, $66,000 bet at the Superbook to win 60,000. Again, that's one of those Bills, Dolphins, and of course the Cardinals Vikings game. That's the free money of the day, according to the public.
By the way, everything you need to know about whether or not you should take Jacksonville as a 6-point home underdog is in what Darren just said. Raybon, don't shake your head at me.
No, Urban Meyer's got to do something good in his NFL career.
The Jaguars in a money line parlay, all of it.
Oh God, I'm not saying take the Broncos, but don't invest hard-earned money in Urban Meyer. That is my biggest advice of the day. Convince me otherwise, you can't.
This is the 1 week you should do it. This is the 1 week you should do it because they were so bad last week. There's a huge overreaction in the market. The Broncos looked good beating the Giants. Now they're going on the road again in the humidity. I know we love Teddy covers. Simon is shaking his head at me. We are taking the Jaguars. You know what you do when you bet the NFL? You make hard decisions. Hard decisions come when the Jaguars are 6-point underdogs being coached by Urban Meyer. That's what you do.
Is that one of your 5 for sure?
Say again?
Is that one of your 5 that you and Simon are taking?
Well, you're going to have to follow us in the Action Network app. All right. Let me recap what I chose. I was supposed to do this earlier in the show. I apologize, producer Evan Abrams. I chose Sean Koerner likes Tyler Higbee over 42.5 yards receiving. I like that. I like the Vikings plus 3.5 from Chris Raybon, but only because I already took the Ravens plus 3.5. And I already liked the bet that Sean Koerner was making as well, and which was the Panthers plus 3.5. And I'm going to do something disgusting. I want to take the Pats and the Jets under 43, like Chris Raybon told me to. Overall, here is our recap of all 9 bets from our experts. Sean Koerner likes Tyler Higbee over 42.5 receiving yards. He likes Carolina plus 3.5. He liked San Francisco under 49 today. Simon Hunter likes Amari Cooper over 5.5 receptions. Baltimore plus 3.5 against the Kansas City Chiefs. Sounds like we got a chase game tonight, folks. And then Seattle and Tennessee under 54. And then Chris Raybon is asking us to go back to the well, bet Ryan Tannehill over 1.5 passing touchdowns again. He likes Minnesota plus 3.5 against the Vikings, going against every public bettor in the country. And we like the Jets in New England under 43 in the swamp of the Meadowlands today. We are counting down until kickoff for week 2. The most exciting window is open. You have all the information you need. You are armed and ready. Go make your bets. Enjoy the day. We will see you next Sunday at Action Network HQ.